real briefly, for those who don't know, FTI has been in business for over 16 years. We're over 120 employees delivering system integration, professional services, and consulting. So 80% of our human resources are engineers, developers, architects, and the other 20% are business process specialists. So our experiences as a solution provider has generated a specialty around BI and data warehousing recently. So the types of questions that we can answer for companies are, do you need assessments for requirements or obstacles in your initiatives? Do you need access to tools to create a quick win or a POC that can help you move an initiative forward? Do you need a data warehouse solution, best practices, metadata management? Any of these are issues that we can address and help with. So in the course of all that, our goal became using that understanding of how to plan and deliver these projects to address the drastic need for a more functional operational analytics system for the healthcare industry. So Dan's leadership and experience has been instrumental in helping us get this off the ground, and we're really excited. So at this time, I'll just turn it over to our product manager for FTI, Dan Gerena.
Thanks, Ben. My name is Dan Gerena. I spent 13 years as Director of Business Intelligence and Analytics at a healthcare system in Western New York. 5-hospital healthcare system, about 62,000 discharges, 1.4 billion or so in revenue. And so that's what I did all day, every day. Essentially, was we started with essentially nothing, and iteratively incorporated data from financial systems, clinical systems, operational types of data, HR staffing, HRIS-related systems. And so effectively, we developed a balanced scorecard approach where we had about 1,400 plus users from all walks of the organization, from back office staff to chief nursing officers to department managers, all accessing all of this information through a single tool set, and we used Oracle Enterprise Edition. Working with, in collaborating with FTI, what we determined was there are a lot of folks who are essentially recreating the wheel. So they have a BI initiative and they start from scratch. They start with a clean slate. They may have a short list of metrics, but it's a lot of work I know because I did it, it's a lot of work to effectively start from scratch and iteratively build out financial metrics, operational metrics, quality metrics, and staffing metrics. And so what ultimately happens in a healthcare organization is priorities change over time, leadership changes, funding challenges occur. And so that in order to do this from end to end, from scratch with internal resources, it really can take a couple of years to develop out. And in the interim, what happens is these solutions are expensive. You have to purchase database, you have to purchase software, you have to pay DBAs, you have to buy ETL software. And in the interim, what happens is folks are still using their own solutions, access databases, spreadsheets, that sort of thing, because you can't right out of the gate implement across the board in all subject matters at initial implementation. So we saw an opportunity there to say, okay, we've crossed this bridge. We know what metrics are important to a healthcare organization. Why start from scratch? And so the concept behind Catalyst really is predefining a data model. Okay, what are the objects and tables that we need to populate? What fields do we need to capture that are relevant and important for running a hospital, whether it's from a financial or an operations perspective or even an HR and staffing perspective? So we have a predefined data model that is about 16 or so different tables where we capture a number of different attributes that every hospital captures in their electronic systems. They may just not be leveraging effectively. So our data model is leveraging best practices not only from a healthcare perspective in terms of what metrics and attributes are important to run a hospital, but also from a technical perspective. FTI, I had the opportunity, we partner with great staff at FTI who know the technology inside and out, who know database concepts and all of performance, query management, all of that inside and out. And so it was a perfect marriage of taking that business knowledge that I had gained over a 13-year period and doing this day in, day out, and marrying that with the technical aspects of what can be done from a technology side. And that's where a lot of organizations that try to implement business intelligence initiatives kind of fall short, is either they're too technical and sometimes IT drives the process and they don't have enough business expertise or orientation, or they're purely business oriented and they haven't studied how to present data using visual best practices, and what they build is clunky. And so we really try to meld the best of both worlds from a technology and from an operational perspective. And that's what Catalyst represents. So not only do we have the data model, but on top of that is what we call the metadata layer. That is the relationship between all of the tables. How does the patient detail table relate to the physician table? What are the various groupings and hierarchies within the physician table that allow me to intuitively, on the dashboard side, drill down from physician group down to individual physician, or drill from physician group to physician specialty, that sort of thing. So all the hierarchies, the calculations, all of that is defined in that metadata layer. So that also is predefined and pre-built. And then finally, we have a set of pre-built dashboards, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes. So that's effectively what the world sees and how they consume the information. But recognize that under the hood, you have that predefined data model, which is built off of what we've learned over the last 13 years effectively doing this day in, day out, as well as that layer of metadata where you establish all the joins, relationships, calculations, hierarchies, that sort of thing. So the approach really is to, agnostic of what systems you use in your healthcare organization, the approach really is to say, okay, we have a predefined data model. Where do you house these attributes? What is your source system of record for something like patient date of birth, patient address, referring physician, APR, DRG, that sort of thing. And so that's sort of the relationship we establish with you when we go to implement, is to walk you through all the attributes, determine where they reside and exist, help you build a data migration piece, the ETL, extract, transform, load piece, from whatever your source systems are to that data model. And so what happens is having a disconnected data model from your source systems allows you over time, like we did at where I used to work, over time you naturally switch ERP systems, you switch HR systems, you switch billing and clinical systems. And so all of that is essentially seamless to your data model, because regardless of the data, whatever the data sources are, you're always mapping that data to the data model, agnostic of the data sources. Even if you have two billing systems, it doesn't make a difference. And so that's essentially the concept, is a predefined set of tables and a predefined set of dashboards. And the beauty about this approach really is that, let's just take a look at, for instance, a subset of the patient detail table. Even though we're saying, okay, here are some of the attributes we want to capture at the patient encounter level, things like admission diagnosis, the DRGs, date-driven information like admission date, discharge date, date of service, date of procedure, physician type of information like surgeon, clinical and financial information such as total charges, direct costs, indirect costs. Even though those are predefined and exist in that data model, every organization is different and they have their own challenges and areas of focus. And so, for instance, if you determine that there are certain attributes that you want to capture at the encounter level, for instance, that you want to add to this data model, you own the data model. Once it's implemented, you can add fields to your heart's content. Once the dashboards are implemented, you can create brand new sets of dashboards. You can incorporate into this predefined data model data from other sources, data from external sources. If you want to incorporate Press Ganey results or whatever the case may be, you have full control and flexibility of that data model and of that dashboard layer and of that metadata repository layer. So it's not as if we implement and if you ask for a new set of fields, we say, okay, see us next upgrade in a year or so and we'll see if we get to it. You own the full thing. So it's effectively a very rapid implementation and shortcut that in my particular situation took me years to get to, starting from scratch. we've taken those learnings and effectively allow you to distill that into our predefined data model and predefined dashboards, so you can rapidly implement and get everybody on a single tool set, get a rapid return on your investment, and allow folks to stop using their back alley types of methodologies in terms of reporting, stop paying support fees on multiple reporting tool sets, stop having arguments around the data and from conflicting sources. You now have one version of the truth, of course, across the enterprise. So that conceptually is what Catalyst is. It's a predefined set of data tables, a data model essentially, and a predefined set of dashboards. So I'm about to jump into the actual dashboards now and walk you through a couple of those and walk you through the functionality and some of the content. So if you can see my screen, this is our landing page, and you can customize your landing page. But for instance, you can see the content is set up where we sort of cohort the metrics. We have financial metrics, operational metrics, quality, and then staffing metrics. And so number one, one of the challenges we had where at my former employer, where I was for 13 years, was we had all this information. And how do you make it make sense and make it tangible? And so a dashboard-centric approach allows you to group similar topics and align them together. And so that's essentially what we're doing here, is putting all the financial metrics in one place. And so what I'll do right now is this little profitability product line rectangle is actually a way to navigate right to the dashboards. So I'll walk you through, for instance, a couple of our dashboards, and then we'll see if you have any questions. But what I want to do as I do that is also bring to your attention the functionality and the technology that we're leveraging, so you can understand how fully flexible the solution is. So at the top, for instance, we have a lot of parameterization. The intent is to have one dashboard that focuses on patient-level profitability, whether you're a hospital president, whether you run operations, whether you're somewhere in the finance organization, whether you're the chief of service of orthopedics, for instance. So you're going to have a lot of constituents that are interested in the same types of information. So historically, what a lot of organizations do is they have 20 different varieties of the same type of information, right? And instead, our approach is to allow for prompting and parameterization at the user level. So you don't have to ask your decision support or BI team to run a profitability report, but run it this way, for instance. The intent is to empower the user to get it in whatever means but they want to see it. So, for instance, I'm looking at, say, a 6-month period for a series of product lines. In this case, let's say I'm looking at orthopedic surgical. I can limit the results by certain hospitals, the date range. I can even limit it to a specific set of physicians. But in this case, I just want to see a 6-month view of my profitability for orthopedic surgical patients. So here I have a scatter plot, and the scatter plot shows me each individual dot is a separate patient encounter. So my focus is not necessarily the cluster here in the middle here. That's where the majority of my patients in orthopedic surgical fall. I'm really more so concerned about the outliers here. Who are the patients that I posted my ratio of profit margin, which is my x-axis here, relative to total charges is very favorable, versus patients where I post a lot of charges, yet I'm losing money on those types of patients, right? So I have the ability to focus in on the outliers. And what I can do is click on any of these individual dots and actually jump down to the patient level detail to fully understand who that patient was, whatever attributes you may want to add. You may say, I want to see the physician. You may say, I want to see the length of stay. Whatever the case may be, you have full control over all of those aspects of that. And so that's just an example of some of the functionality we try to embed in this dashboard, is the ability not only for users to determine what slice of the data they want to see, but the ability naturally to go from a high level of the 50,000 foot view, for instance, down to a tabular view at the patient level. Not only do we have this type of drilling capabilities, and that's effectively what we manage in the metadata layer there. Not only do we allow the ability to drill down to different views of the information, but there's also the ability to to allow the users to interact with it and see it in alternate and varying different ways. So I can see profitability by month now in a tabular fashion, and shows me the number of cases and in aggregate segmented by hospital, for instance, right? So a lot of flexibility built in here, and that's essentially what we try to do, is leverage the technology as effectively as we could, along with our knowledge of the healthcare realm. Here is we're still on the profitability dashboard. So here on the right, I have aggregate profitability segmented by different hospital. Each hospital is a different line, and I see that segmented by month. Below that, I see the same information by month, but the volume of cases. So I can see that the volume of cases at my West Hospital is declining in terms of orthopedic surgical patients. And then over on the right-hand side, I have my least profitable patients. So I'm seeing, for instance, by default, my top 10 least profitable patients, sorted from least profitable to most profitable. So I can see who those outliers are right off the bat by just landing on the page. I have four different ways of viewing the information. So depending on my role in the organization, I'm either going to be interested in a high-level aggregated overall trend. I'm going to be interested in the granular level of detail and trying to understand who the specific patients were, what their financial class was, who the physicians were, length of stay. Everything that may drive profitability, I have access to all that information right at my fingertips. And so that's effectively what the spirit of the Catalyst tool is leveraging the technology along with our knowledge in terms of the data model.